influence of the river here then?
Well, basically, Malmesbury exists because of the river. Below the town here, two branches of the River Avon meet and form an almost an island here for this highly defensible position. A brilliant site if you're trying to build somewhere where you can defend easily.
And the abbey itself, I mean, it looks ruined, at least part of it in a way.
Well, in part it is. This was one of the most enormous abbeys before the Reformation, but when the monasteries were closed in 1539, this was wrecked. But then it was rebuilt. But the whole story of the Reformation and its impact on our landscape and our churches, that's something we're coming to a little further down the river. What I want to show you here is probably the most important and most traumatic experience of what happened in England to Christianity before the Reformation. If you like, it's where two Christianities met head on and only one won. Let me show you.
So where is this clash of civilizations?
Well, what I want to show you is this pillar here and this whole section here. Do you see this wonderful Celtic knot pattern, these lovely Anglo-Saxon sort of vines coming up? This is a culture that should have disappeared. It was literally buried under the stone of the Norman conquest. They were saying, we've arrived, we are now in charge. But this is the new iconography.
It's the guys who were in charge.
You can see it, can't you? You can see it. Now, what you've got still is a marvellous Anglo-Saxon inspired angel up there, that wonderful free movement bringing you grace. But boy, oh boy, the six apostles here and the ones on the other side, these are figures of power. It's fantastic. It's a story of clash of civilizations.
And isn't it interesting how along the river you can get a slice of history at every stage?
Absolutely. In a sense, what I'm taking you on is not a chronological journey, but it's a journey using the river to see how at almost any place you can cut down through layers of history, just as we can cut down through the geological strata laid down by the river and by the environment around here. Everywhere has a story to tell, if you can only hear and see it in the stone.
Well, it's idyllic, bucolic scene, if a little damp, you've brought me to here, but why Lacock Abbey? Why here?
Well, Lacock is a classic product of what happened when Henry VIII decided in 1534 that he no longer wanted to be a Catholic and he wanted to head his own church, the Church of England. And quite apart from reforming the Church of England and getting rid of the corruption, he dissolved or destroyed every single monastery and nunnery in England. The fact that people could come just a couple of years after the nuns had been driven out and then just come here, demolish the church, build themselves a family home, I don't know, there's something there that to me is the beginnings of secularism, the beginning of a loss of a sense of respect for the sacred.
But some of the destruction was done, was it not, out of a genuine, if misguided, feeling that it represented mistaken thinking and a wrong understanding of God, as seen by the Protestants?
Yes, there certainly was that truth. But at the Reformation, when the nuns were driven out of here, and the infirmary closed, and the school closed, it would be like destroying virtually every hospital in England today.
So destroy a holy place, and you destroy something much more intangible than that as well.
Yes, I think prayer, I think pain, suffering, joy, celebration gives the very stones, the very bricks a holiness. However, there is also, the sacred moves on. For many people now, it has to be said, this is a new kind of holy place. And for many people, it's easier to celebrate and indeed to believe in and even worship God sitting beside a river than it is to go inside a church. But also I think the church has been traditionally rather suspicious of people who've rather enjoyed God in nature. Well, there is this tradition in the Christian faith of the two books of Revelation.
A change this is going to be after we've been smoking in public for more than 400 years in this country. Why is it changing? Well, there are real concerns about non-smokers taking in cigarette fumes from people who do smoke. what evidence is there? Well, we've sent our reporter, Richard Franklin, who's not a smoker, out to a big smoking cafe. Yeah, I can. You can basically smoke, you can't smoke, sorry, in any public place that's inside. So pubs like this one here in Malmesbury, clubs, restaurants, nightclubs. It'll be interesting to see how that's really enforced. You can still smoke in your home or anything that acts like a home, things like care homes, prisons, hotels. You'll still be able to smoke there. But as for the days of smoking in the workplace, that's not going to continue anymore. So you'll now have these temporary structures outside workplaces where probably in the winter you'll see a few smokers grimly tugging on their cigarettes there.
Well, Rob, the thing is, it all sounds pretty good in theory, but how are they going to enforce the ban?
Basically with a series of fines. If I light up a cigarette here on Sunday afternoon, I can expect to get a £50 fine. If I light up a cigarette and they don't stop me and one of these inspectors that are going to be out and about sees me smoking, the bar will be fined £2,500. It's going to be interesting to see how some of the real die-hard places that have always smoked and everyone really believes they should go to this bar to smoke, if that's really enforced or not. But largely it's going to be self-regulating apart from these monitors who are going to be going around.
Okay, thanks very much, Rob.
Yes, I'm here in the Cotswolds. Up there, the smoking dog sign. That dog's been up there puffing his pipe for years, but today a new sign turned up here. This one here telling you it's against the law to smoke inside the pub. Obviously this is a big deal, very controversial. Two sides of the argument. We're going to be talking to a few smokers and non-smokers. John, you've been smoking for about 20 years. What do you make about the ban on Sunday?
I actually think it's a good idea. Even though I'm a smoker, I'm one of those people who keeps trying to give up. When I do stop, I find coming to the pub is the hardest thing. Everybody around you smoking, it's so tempting to have one.
So you may stop?
I think it will help next time I stop, yeah.
Thanks very much. Paul, you don't smoke. What's wrong with having smoking areas and non-smoking areas?
I've never been convinced that works. I think you're inevitably going to get drift from one area to another. I think an outright ban's the only sensible option.
OK, and Ian, we're all grown-ups in pubs. We all know that people smoke in pubs. Isn't this over the top?
I don't think so. 10, 15 years ago, everyone used to smoke in offices. It's just the way things are going. Personally, I'm quite looking forward to it.
Thanks very much indeed. The landlord here is Martin Bridge. Martin, this was brought in to stop staff from breathing in second-hand smoke. How have your staff really reacted to it, though?
They're very keen for it. We stopped smoking 6 months ago at the bar. Now they go home smelling fresh and clean, and they're enjoying it. Now that there's going to be no smoking in, we're looking forward to it.
Aren't you worried about all your smokers who drink here? Aren't they going to just go home with a 4-pack?
No, not at all. I think it's going to be positive for us. We have facilities in the back for people to go and smoke in the garden, so onwards and upwards for us, really.
Thanks very much indeed. Well, this picture here is another picture of that dog proudly smoking, but as of Sunday, this is the only thing that's going to be smoking inside this pub.
The children are from 3 schools in North Wiltshire, and they'll be singing alongside the famous gospel singers, the Blind Boys of Alabama. Rachel Royce reports.
I've been listening to these children rehearse all morning, and I can tell you I've never heard a school choir anything like it. Take it away, guys.
This may be the last time, children. This may be the last time. It may be the last time, I don't know.
Pretty good stuff, eh? This is their gospel number. Then on Friday, they'll perform their own set in traditional Indian costume.
I mean, it's been quite challenging, in particular the Indian song, which is in Indian, but the children are so enthusiastic and so excited they've picked it up in no time.
The main one is Amiso Valitarabal, and it's an Indian song, and it means we are your children, we give you love.
Peter Gabriel founded the World Music Festival 25 years ago in Somerset, but for the last 20 years it's been held in Reading. This year marks its return to the West Country. For the children taking part, it's the gig of a lifetime. What's it going to be like being on stage in front of all those people?
Nerve-wracking, scary, but fun.
Do you get to rehearse with them before you actually go on stage?
I don't think we do. I think we were going to, but someone a bit more famous took our sound check, so just going to cross our fingers and hope it all goes well on the day.
There are still some tickets left, but you'll have to be quick. Most of them have already been snapped up, and I'm not surprised. Rachel Royce in Malmesbury for the West Tonight.
Oh, move her, Rachel, isn't she?
She looks like she's enjoying
Hold
it.
on.
It's different types of mud. You're the sinking mud. You've got the crusty mud.
Completely covered in mud. Yeah. It's a bit muddy. Yeah, it's good though.
Regardless of whether or what mud, as we always say.
On its 25th anniversary, Peter Gabriel opened the festival he began, its first year in his home county of Wiltshire.
It grew out of the West Country, and it's really nice to have it back home.
We work in a small village called Box, which is also in Wiltshire, so for us it's almost like a local event.
The beauty of Womad, its diversity. You won't even have heard of many of the acts, like this group from South Korea. Above all, it's a family festival, from the very young to the more senior members of the clan. Artists from all over the world this weekend, but also the local primary school performing on stage and in the mud. Tom Burridge, Beauty Point West, at the Womad Festival near Malmesbury.
Sport?
Actually gone pink,
Yes.
not that you can tell under all this makeup. But it seems that a garden in Wiltshire where you can walk among the flowers wearing no more than a smile is reporting record visitors.
Going au naturel to enjoy the foliage at Abbey House Gardens in Malmesbury has proved so popular, it's had to increase the number of clothes optional days it's holding this summer. And it seems plenty are keen to turn up to flash a bit of flesh.
Yes, if you do find nudity a bit too much, maybe you should just avert your gaze now.
Oh dear. That one doesn't want to come.
But lots of people are visiting his gardens. For Ian and Barbara Pollard, gardening naked is natural.
I'm learning a lot about everything that's around me. I know what the air's doing, I know what the temperature's doing, and I know what's sharp halfway up my thigh, and I'm using my entire body. It's healthy.
And it's been healthy for business. Despite the weather this summer, clothes optional days are proving extremely popular. The garden's beauty is obvious, but arriving is like turning up on an Italian beach and realising that some haven't brought their swimwear.
The first time you went to a nudist place, did you, like most of us, sort of wonder where to look?
No, not really. You know, I mean, we look like we do when people have clothes on, you know, and just look, and as long as you don't ogle, I mean, it's perfectly acceptable.
And for those who don't know where to look, there's plenty of beautiful plants and flowers. Ian and Barbara built the gardens from scratch, and they're now aptly named the Naked Gardeners.
Society's increasingly obsessed with nudity. People looking for cheap excuses to get their kit off. Perhaps that's why places like this are becoming more popular. Or maybe it's because us Brits are finally more comfortable in the nude.
With our clothes optional days here, we have very few people who actually sort of turn away at the gate and say, oh, we're not going in because there are naked people in there. This is in what the most prudest country in the whole of Europe is the good old United Kingdom. So perhaps we're just slowly and surely catching up with more of Europe.
Not everyone here goes naked, and there's always the more creative ways to cover up. Tom Burridge, BBC Points West in Malmesbury.
Yes.
I'm never going to be able to throw to a Tom Burridge story in quite the same way ever again. He chickened out a little bit there, didn't he? Potting shed, can't think why. But now they're putting up a fight to keep the name they've known and loved for years, as Rachel Royce has been finding out.
Drinkers in the village of Crudwell currently have a choice of two pubs, both with traditional rural names, dating back, it's thought, hundreds of years. This is a wheat sheaf. At the other end of the village, it's the Plow. The Plow is one of the oldest buildings in the village, and the name has been traced back around 300 years. But now new owners want the Plow to become the potting shed.
I don't think they should change it. I think it's a well-known village pub, been there for many, many years, and you know, it's known as the Plow.
Because it's been there 300 years, and I don't think we ought to change it.
A local historian is so incensed at the name change that he's got up a petition in the hope of persuading the owners to change their minds.
I learned that the pub had been there for some 300 years. It's reckoned to be one of the oldest buildings in the village, a coaching inn, and it's been known as the Plow Inn all that time.
The Plow is by no means the first pub to lose its historic name for something new. Over the years, traditional names like the Swan have given way to names like the Goose and Granite or Slug and Lettuce. Locals may protest, but there's no law against a name change. But why the Potting Shed?
The Potting Shed pub has amused quite a few people, but it's relevant to us because one of the things we're looking to do is in this large area of land behind us is develop over an acre a large vegetable garden which will supply fresh fruit and vegetables to not only the pub but also to our hotel across the road and delicatessen in Cirencester.
The new owners say they're improving the pub with renovations that show off its traditional features. An ancient plough will still take pride of place. But for many locals, unpicking the name The Plough is like disappearing a piece of village history. Rachel Royce in Crodwell for the West Tonight.